You are exceptional. And when you're exceptional, some people will understand you and some won't even try. Some people will love you and some will resent you for it. It's just part of the game. It's time to let go of any toxic environments or people that are keeping you from the next level because you deserve better. If it's hurting you, let it go. The rest will work itself out. Cheers to a new chapter. My name is Isaac. I'm 30 years old. I live in Florida. I love God. And I just quit my job recently. So we're going to celebrate because I'm not in the psychological space anymore of panicking. I'm in the space of celebrating and embracing abundance. So I want y'all to just celebrate with me. Purpose is important. But I saw a quote around the time that I quit my job. And it said, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's how I felt. I felt in that role. I had been growing for so long, and then I reached this point of stagnation where there was just no promotion or advancement or financial raising responsibilities. I mean, there was no growth in sight. To be honest, I didn't have a safety net, and that was probably the scariest part. Like, I literally quit my job with not another job lined up. My car is done charging. And what's crazy is it was my dream job. Like, truly, it was a dream until it wasn't anymore. So we're going to celebrate. We're going to get us something real to eat.
If you be the cash, I be the rubber band. You be the match, I will be a fuse. Yeah. Boom, painter, baby, you could be the muse. Yeah. I'm the reporter, baby, you could be the news. Cause you're the cigarette, and I'm a smoker. We raise a bet, cause you're the joker, chip dog.
So my celebratory meal is going to be spicy maple lamb chops with mango shrimp ceviche. So we're going to get it cracking. All right, so I'm really excited to take you behind the scenes on two of my absolute favorite recipes. It's also kind of a behind the scenes to my cooking channel, so you probably already know I have a cooking channel as well, which is tagged on my main page. And it's mostly a shorts channel to help people with short, quick, and easy recipes. I have 2 degrees in nutrition. My dream job, which I was talking about earlier, was actually a nutrition professor. Well, honestly. I still teach part-time at a couple other schools. But I was a full-time nutrition professor for a few years. That was honestly, my big break. And I didn't really see it coming. Like, I was in school for a long time, obviously. And I started working as a food scientist after school. I had a string of pretty good jobs. And then I moved to Florida for love. Had a kid. Love my daughter. Biggest blessing of my life thus far. But unfortunately, it didn't work out with her mom. So, but before all that, before me and her mom split, I started working as a nutrition professor at one of the biggest schools down here. And it's funny because I was going to move down here some years ago. Oh, real quick. So I am deveining the shrimp. These shrimp are actually already peeled and deveined. But you'll notice that I'm cutting them in half and I'm pulling the veins out of the bottom. So even shrimp that is peeled and deveined, it still has veins. And I always do this to my shrimp. So I'm cutting them long ways, which you'll see is kind of unusual, I think. But I love the texture when you cut your shrimp long ways because you get more of the flavor on the shrimp. One of my favorite fried shrimp places in Orlando cut their shrimp long ways, which is what made me start doing it like this. You get a lot more flavor and seasoning on the shrimp, and you can also get these little nasty veins out. So I'm new to vlogging. The 2 things that I'm going to challenge myself to stop doing is sniffing while I'm recording and saying I don't know which one will be harder because I'm a chronic sniffer. I don't know why. Like even when I don't need to sniff, I just sniff. Like it's like a sensory thing, like a I don't know, like a ASMR, personal ASMR thing. But anyway, now we're cutting our vegetables for the ceviche. Oh my gosh, I'm just like mouth watering because I know how this dish is going to turn out. But we got some sweet mini peppers here. We're shaving some jalapenos, so cutting them very, very thin. I actually got a new knife since this video. With this is a pretty good knife. I've had it for a long time, but my new knife, oh my god, I'm so excited to use it on recipes like this because it just cuts through vegetables, meat, anything like butter. The new knife is Japanese steel and it has layers, so it's just way sharper than this knife. So shout out to old trusty, but my new knife is just gonna really take it up a notch. But anyway, I was talking about moving to Florida. I was going to move to Florida for college, like before college, and I ended up working at the school that I was going to attend when I was planning to move here. But obviously, I ended up going to college in Ohio. So definitely was a full circle moment, and in many ways, it was such an honor to be able to teach. I mean, I don't know, like being the person that I am, anybody that knows me, to be able to get up in front of a class and teach college classes. I mean, just really a dream that I never even had come true. You know what I'm saying? It definitely was a big break, especially because I moved down here with my business, which at the time I was just doing like private personal chef work. So cooking meals, meal prep for individual clients, which was dope in itself. I mean, that was a super cool experience. I mean, being at the store all the time, buying food, I love shopping for food. So being able to just be buying so much food and literally turning food into money was cool. But it was definitely something that was hard to scale up because it was just me. You don't make $1 million cooking. Anybody who's ever worked in the food industry knows that it's a very low profit margin, meaning the money that you spend versus the money that you make. I mean, it's just not a huge profit margin. So you're making good money, but you're spending a lot of money on food. Like you can't. It's not easy to spend $100 on food and then charge somebody $200 because then they're paying like 25, $30 per meal, which people pay, but when you talk about meal preps and things like that, you have to be somewhat competitive, especially when you're a small business like I was. So my point is that was really hard, and I wasn't making a crazy amount of money. So to be able to start teaching, in addition to running my business, I mean, it put me in a space financially that I had never been in before, where I was making really good money. And the craziest part about it all was I got hired at one school, which was a small private school. And then literally, I got back from that interview and I was like, oh, you ate that. When I parked getting home from that interview, I got a call from another school I had applied to months ago. And they were like, hey, we want to interview you too. So I got hired literally back to back at three different schools. And that's it. Anybody that knows me knows I made it work. Okay, people be like, "Oh, how can you work at three schools and run a business at the same time?" I don't know how I did it, but I did it, and it was fun. Like it was fun. It was busy. My daughter's mom was pregnant at the time, so of course I'm like, we're gonna stack these chips and get ready for this baby, and that's exactly what we did. And the crazy thing about this too, which even though it went wrong, and I'll talk about how it went wrong in a bit, it was pre-COVID. So guess what? When COVID happened, all of my teaching switched to online, which came with its challenges, but like I felt so blessed because of course during COVID, people were getting laid off. Some people were just not able to work because of the nature of their job. And I was able to make a living, a good living teaching online. Now that's actually when I stopped doing meal prep because not only was just food service in general tricky during COVID, but it's like I had a, you know, baby on the way. So it's like and COVID. Anybody who remembers when COVID was happening real time, it wasn't like it is now, where it's kind of like, oh, COVID. We were spooked. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if COVID was something that was a life sentence. People was gonna have it forever. People was losing their taste buds, and that was my biggest fear. It's like, okay, can't breathe, mucus in the lungs. whatever, but I can't smell or taste, not gonna work. Like, you can do a lot of things. Take something else, but don't take my taste buds. So my point is, I wasn't fooling with the meal prep during COVID. So to be able to teach, I do believe in God's divine timing, because when it happened, it was monumental, and it was a life saving experience. Now, how did it go left? I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I really feel like the main issue with the job, the main issue, because like I said, I was going through some personal things, breakup, was having some challenges in my family, some just a lot going on. But the main thing with the job itself, because it's like, okay, a job can be your security and your anchor through hard times, because it's money, purpose, etc. But unfortunately, teaching, especially in the context that I was teaching, in the main school that I resigned from, it wasn't a position of growth. And in fact, it turned into like a toxically kind of competitive experience. Reason being, you have a lot of people in positions and really nowhere for them to go. So I had colleagues, supervisors even, that had been applying for jobs for years and not getting anywhere. And this was a huge lesson in corporate America, industry, whatever, because oof, when you have a bunch of people that's fighting for the same positions, or they feel like they're fighting for the same opportunities, because the gag is, I didn't want nobody's job. At a certain point towards the end, I barely wanted my job. But people will see you as their competition, and they'll treat you as such. And I ran into a position where people who previously, pretended, or maybe even at the time had my best interest at heart. It was definitely a situation of like, we want you to do good, but not too good. We want you to shine, but if you shine in maybe brighter than us, now we got a problem. And that's what happened. And it got to the point where it was, just messy and sabotage. People talking about me in the office with their doors open, just a lot. And you know that's a growing experience for me, because if it's one thing I've learned in my spiritual journey is like, if people not talking about you, if people not mad, you might not be making enough impact. You know what I'm saying? And that's just real. But at the time, it was heartbreaking because I was going through a lot personally. You know, I was going through a lot, and I get emotional even talking about it, because I came from an environment, in Ohio, where I had like a really good support system with my friends and my mentors that I had made at school. So coming down here, it's like I wanted to make new friends. I definitely wanted to make new mentors, and I was in a place where I kind of felt stuck as well, just as far as growth and stuff. So it was there were people that I saw as mentors that really turned on me because of, I feel, like, competition. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's something I have to maybe unpack another time. I think I've definitely said enough. But one thing I'm learning, I might be made for this vlogging stuff, because when I watch vlogs, I'm like, how do y'all just be talking for so long? But I'm acting surprised. But I've always been a talker. So long story short, though, I quit my job, and it took a lot of courage, because it was security, and honestly, it kind of, at a certain point, teaching the same thing over and over, it had to be one of the easiest jobs I've ever had. Like, perhaps too easy. But my point is, I left a secure paycheck, easy money, to pursue my passion and to just have a better headspace, to get out of a toxic environment with toxic people. And it took a lot of courage. And even though it hasn't been perfect, I bumped my head, and it took me a while just to get to this point of being able to, like, just be creative and kind of let things flow. But I say all that to say, I'm proud of myself, because my biggest fear, and what really pushes me forward in life, and has always pushed me forward, is kind of putting myself in the shoes of Grandpa Isaac. Like, when I'm old, I want to look back and be proud of myself and feel like I followed my passions, and that I didn't live in fear. And I'm hard on myself sometimes because you know, we all have a vision of how things go, and I feel like it's kind of taken me. Sometimes I have felt like it's taken me a while to get just where I am, but that is a trick of the devil. That's a trick of the enemy because I know that I've accomplished a lot. Like I'm 30 years old. I've been a college professor for some years, and I've ran a business. I've hired an assistant. I had a whole assistant at some point, which is a story for another day. Running payroll, paying an assistant. I mean incredible. I had an office downtown, and accomplishments aren't everything, but they are a testament, and that has been an important thing for me too throughout these challenging times because I definitely hit a period of a very, very deep. I'm not even like narrating the recipe at this point, but this is literally the behind the scenes of a recipe that's on my shorts page. So if you want to see the full recipe as instructions, ingredients, you can always go there and find it. But you see the ceviche. We're about to make our lamb chops. I like to add lemon slices, garlic cloves to the skillet when I'm searing things like lamb chops because it keeps the oil kind of cool, keeps the surface of the skillet at a reasonable temperature so that you can sear your meat without burning it. And you'll see these lamb chops get the perfect sear. You'll see. But all my point was, when I was in like the deepest pit of depression where I was like barely getting anything done, like I was just like focusing on washing my behind, you know what I'm saying? And making sure my daughter's behind was washed and getting her to school on time. Like it was a time where like I literally had to wake up, get my daughter ready, pack her lunch, get her ready for school, drop her off, and then I would come home and get my life together. Like I would drop her off looking like who shot John, who done it. Like, I don't think I was ever out here stinking, but I was out here looking crazy, sometimes when I was really going through it. And my point is, when I was going through those really hard times, the thing that kept me, um, one of the things that kept me afloat, I mean, the main thing was God for sure. Like, I would not have made it through this hard time without God, without church, without, being able to just really watch sermons in church on YouTube. That's been a blessing. And I'm grateful for all the wonderful churches that archive their sermons and their words on YouTube because it's getting up and going to church when you're depressed is like an oxymoron because who's doing all that? But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Outside of God, which was the main thing, um, being able to look back on experiences where I have accomplished things was grounding, not because of the accomplishment itself, but because it was proof that I could do what I need to do and what I want to do. So it was like anecdotal evidence that you're going through this right now, but you know how to get up and get it cracking because you've done it before. So when I think of my accomplishments, they are important to me in that regard because it's like proof, it's anecdotal evidence that you're going through this right now, you're going through this tough time, and it's kind of clouding your view and it's clouding who you really are. You have to remember who you are when you're going through it. You have to remember who made you, and I get emotional just talking about it, but you remember who you are. For anybody that's going through it right now, that's watching, YouTube all day, because that was me at a certain point. Like, that's why I think I started YouTube. Like before, when I had friends that was always watching blogs and stuff, um, I'm like, what the hell is the big whoop on YouTube? Why everybody, why are you watching YouTube all the time? But when I really started going through it, that's when I really got into like YouTube, and I saw. I mean, obviously you can get trapped in anything. You don't want to get too deep into the whole YouTube. I'll get into this plating. I'm like just staring off into space talking. Get into this plating. Get into this ceviche. to these lamb chops. One thing too that I think I'm trying to do is keep things very raw, and I'm not trying to over edit, at least not in the beginning, because I know I have to like just kind of grow my channel. So I'm hoping I can find people that are just as weird and crazy as me that will subscribe. But But yeah, I'm just starting off in this space. Hopefully, y'all get into this recipe. But again, all these full recipes are available on my shorts page. So this is really like behind the scenes. And you see, I'm praying over my food, praying for a long time because, baby, it's a lot to pray about in 2025. All right. Anybody that's alive right now in July 2025, whew, Lord help us all. Okay. For real. For real. Okay. I can probably tell by now I'm very spiritual person. You know, I try not to even over explain myself in that regard because I think we all have our own spiritual journey, and you know, there's a lot of different belief systems. But what I know for sure is that there's one truth, you know. And when it comes to spirituality and religion, we're all trying to find that same truth, you know. So I try not to judge people and tell people how to believe because that's not my place. But what I do know is there's one truth, and you know, anybody who is deeply spiritual or you know whatnot, we're all trying to connect to that same truth. Okay, so that was my long prayer, and this ceviche, man. I definitely got a little ADHD. I got a diagnosed with adult ADHD a few years ago, which that's a whole nother story. You know, I got a lot to talk about over these vlogs. But even with ADHD, it's an interesting thing because there's an overlap between ADHD and PTSD, ADHD and trauma as a trauma response. So the whole neurodiversity thing is oof, that's a whole conversation in itself. But yeah, see, I'm over here. You know, I'm actually filming my short at the same time, which is why this camera angle is so bad because I wasn't really focusing on. I want to say it's bad actually. It's a nice little BTS thing, but my other camera was filming my short, so this was really just kind of capturing the behind the scenes. All right, so yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, it's how YouTube. I really connected with YouTube when I was really going through it. Like I really found value in being able to observe people's journeys. You know, even though you know YouTube, of course, is kind of like a highlight reel. To be able to connect with so many different type of niche individuals, right? Like mainstream media, it's only gonna we're gonna see who these big companies, you know, streaming services want us to see. But YouTube, you really get to connect with people that may be from where you're from, that may be into what you're into, you know, that may be on a similar journey. So I don't know. I'm hoping that in this YouTube journey, I can get some things off my chest as I already am, because I have a lot more to talk about as it relates to these jobs and you know toxic work environments and more importantly solutions because I'm big on positive energy and positive vibes, which is why I didn't even want to get too deep into the drama in the first video. But yeah, shout out to YouTube, and I'm excited to continue on this journey. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this vlog. It definitely was a bit of a freestyle, and a lot of it was behind the scenes to me cooking, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If any of this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Anybody who has navigated a toxic work environment, shout out to you. You know, let me know your experience in the comments, and more importantly, how you kind of overcame it and what you did. Anybody that's quit their job, I'd be interested in hearing more about that as well. So I'm gonna stop it here. I think 25 minutes is it's not bad, not too short, but not too long. So definitely, we'll see y'all soon in the next video.
Believe I'm more to come back.